Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to Jets Media. This is Richie with Jack and the Lead. We're going to be breaking down what we saw yesterday from the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets game. We're also going to be talking about the Houston Texans game coming up. We got some unfortunate injury news, and the Jets are coming off a disappointing loss and are now 2-8 on the season. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome in. Make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button on your way in. I'll greatly appreciate that. So, Jack, how you doing today, bro? Hanging in there?
I'm pretty good, man. Can't really complain from a personal standpoint, but from a Jets standpoint, yeah, it's another tough one. It's what's the opposite of a victory Monday? A loser Monday? I don't know, but it's another fat L Monday, and it sucks, man. But here we are. So I'm just happy to be here, talking some football with you guys.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Ali, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. I got to see the Rangers win in the last second yesterday. Lakers won too, but the Jets obviously they can't get on the win column very often. So I mean, it wasn't a total loss of a game, but it was definitely hurt sad because the Jets were right there to win this football game, and they just couldn't do it. So it hurts.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is like the one loss this year where it's like not that painful because one, Joe Flacco is the quarterback. So it's like, all right, like if we win, cool. If we lose, cool. Like it's Joe Flacco. It's not like, Zach Wilson gets a win. That's a big deal. Or even Mike White, because that was, cool, that whole story. But the one thing that does suck that it is against a division rival and it is against the Miami Dolphins. And I really wanted to get that victory because we were in it at the end. And I think that the Jets lost this game yesterday because of the penalties. I think that the Jets handed this victory to the Miami Dolphins. Not to say the Dolphins did not play a good game. They executed their game plan. Their defense was good. Tua Tagovailoa protected the ball outside of that one turnover he had, and they moved the sticks, and they had a good game plan, and they executed. So shout out to the Dolphins. GG's to you guys. But I think that the Jets had a big opportunity to win this game, and John Frank Lamar's roughing the passing call, Jason Pinnock's holding. There's a lot of inexcusable penalties that really held this team back, and we just simply cannot win the game because of that. We got some bright spots to talk about. Rookie wide receiver Elijah Moore. I'm repping his jersey once again. He is absolutely developing into a star before our very eyes. I've waited my entire life for the Jets to draft someone like him, and he is coming off a phenomenal game, absolutely making Byron Jones look silly out there with a 62-yard touchdown. He added 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. That's just under 30 PPR fantasy points. Thank you, Elijah Moore. I got you in 2 leagues. I appreciate you, buddy. But the unfortunate news for the Jets that we find out like an hour or so ago, our other rookie star, Michael Carter, he is going to be sidelined for 2 to 3 weeks with a mild high ankle sprain. Not ideal. I think that when Michael Carter went down with an injury, that kind of changed the outlook of the game because Michael Carter was going crazy. He single-handedly got us into the red zone that resulted in that James Crowder touchdown because after that Ashton Davis interception, the first play, Michael Carter just took it all the way, almost went into the end zone, gets down at the 1-yard line. We get stopped, and then we go for the 4th down. And Michael Carter I feel like he was going to have a career day on the ground. His career rushing yards in a game is 77. I thought he was going to get his first 100-yard game that game, but unfortunately he went down with an ankle sprain. So we'll start off with that unfortunate news. Jack, what's your thoughts about the Michael Carter injury, and do you have confidence in Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman to step up? And I think LaMichael Pirine will get some action as well.
Well, the first thing I will say is, I do have confidence in everybody else to step up. Going back to, before the season started, we were all confident in these 4 names we had at the running back position. We were obviously hopeful for Michael Carter to emerge as the number 1, which he did. But, we just can't have nice things as Jets fans. So this is just what happens to us this year. This horrible year just continues to roll on, and now we'll be without Michael Carter for 2 to 3 weeks. And it sucks, but, I do have faith in, Tevin Coleman, LaMichael Pirine, hopefully will get some more time. And of course, Ty Johnson, I think will really take over as kind of the feature guy now. I hope they don't, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to like Tevin Coleman, although the couple times we have kind of seen him in the rotation the last couple games, he's kind of been pretty productive, honestly, whenever he does have the ball in his hands. But I just don't want to see it. I don't know why. Just because I'm tight that Michael Carter's injured, I guess. But I'd love to see Ty Johnson, kind of take over the backfield a little bit because, he's another young stud at the running back. And I'd rather, give the young guys the reps, especially in a year like this where we really, have no hopes of any, postseason aspirations or anything like that. So I think it's, a perfect time for Ty Johnson to really get a lot of development time and maybe a little of Michael Piron as well. Obviously, Tevin Coleman is definitely going to be heavily in there as well. He might even become like the featured number one guy now. I just have a feeling that's probably what's going to happen. But I would love to see Ty Johnson get a bulk of the workload now. But Michael Carter has just been absolutely phenomenal, man. And let's not forget that we finally witnessed a long run from a Jets running back yesterday. What was it, 39 yards that it went for? That was fantastic, man. It was so good to see that again. I feel like the last time we saw that was like Isaiah Crowell, like 4 years ago or something like that. And then Chris Ivory, and then the days of Powell, Sean Green, LT. It's good to know that we finally have a stud running back again in Michael Carter. It sucks that he's hurt, but it's not anything new to us Jets fans. Injuries we've been dealing with all year. So we'll get him back out there in 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully, and I think he'll pick up right where he left off.
Yeah, and the good news about the Carter injury that it's only 2 to 3 weeks because it easily could have been a lot worse. It could have been a fractured ankle, could have been structural damage. So he dodged a bullet because honestly, if there was an injury, that's the injury I would ask for, if there was one. It's an ankle sprain because that's something that can heal. He'll be back at the end of the year because the last thing he needed to do is have a season-ending injury, and all of a sudden Michael Carter's gone and we have to wait all the way till next year and he's going to have to rehab. So luckily the injury was not too severe. It's a mild ankle sprain, so that's a very good sign, and I'm excited to get Michael Carter back in action. Heat Fins with the donation. GG's, y'all played a good game. Keep y'all heads up. I appreciate the donation. Dolphins fans, you guys showed a lot of support on the stream. I see Finsanity is in the stream as well. Y'all offensive line is impressive. I appreciate that. Elijah Vera Tucker, you guys played a really good game. I think the Dolphins are trending in the right direction. It was a matchup between two teams that are really, the Dolphins are more established. That they went into this year with a lot more, aspirations. They thought that you guys have a chance to make the playoffs. You started off slow, but now you guys are on a little 3-game win streak. So GG's to you guys, and I appreciate all the support from Fins Nation. It really does mean a lot. So Ali, what's your thoughts about the Michael Carter injury and how this running back room is going to look when he's out?
Yeah, man, it's definitely a loss for the football team in general, especially if Zach Wilson's coming back this week. I kind of wanted to see him with Michael Carter and Zach Wilson together. Carter finally got his rhythm, and they're using him a lot more. But now, obviously, that's when he wasn't playing and the offense was just not clicking at all. But right now, the offense is clicking, and he just lost one of his playmakers if he comes back this week. So that kind of sucks in that case. But I think Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman are two good running backs that are working behind an offensive line that has played pretty damn well for the most of the season. This offensive line has done their part to keep the run game going. Those chunk yards are because of that offensive line. That 39-yard rush, you saw, Elijah Vera Tucker all the way almost down over there. All these guys are athletic and ready to play, and they're blocking their asses off. I mean, Ty Johnson. The one thing about Ty Johnson, he's not very good at blocking. So hopefully that doesn't come into scenario. Maybe Tevin Coleman comes in there to protect Zach Wilson a little bit because I think Carter did a really good job in helping the quarterback get around, get some more time to pass and look at his reads. But overall, I think Carter being out, it's definitely sucks, but it could definitely have been worse. It could have been a couple weeks. It could have been the end of the season for him. But we're going to get him back in a couple weeks, and hopefully Zach Wilson is playing at a high level and he gets back to normal in this offense. So I really do like Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman, whenever he's out there, he excels, especially in the kick return department. I feel like he always gives a spark of some sort to the team. And then on the offensive side, he gives a little bit more experience. He knows the offense, so he gives a little bit of a boost that they need to get the offense rolling a little bit. Ty Johnson, obviously, he's shown flashes, even with Michael Carter on the field, and I think he did pretty well when Michael Carter went down to get a couple runs. And so I'm not too worried about the offense, the running back position, but obviously Carter was the number one guy. Carter was the guy that everyone fell in love with. So definitely going to be missed, but we'll see in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly, man. The good thing is it's not a long-term injury and he'll be back in 2 to 3 weeks. So let's get to some positive talk because honestly, man, I said it earlier, this Jets loss doesn't feel that bad because there's a lot of good things that happened yesterday for the Jets. The Seahawks lost, the Panthers lost, and we got a really good performance from the Jets around like the playmakers and Elijah Moore. Some players on the defensive end like Quinnen Williams and Bryce Hall had probably their most impressive days of the season. So the interesting thing that I saw yesterday, and I want to talk about the whole Joe Flacco situation. Last week we get the news Joe Flacco's the quarterback, and Jets Twitter comes in a frenzy. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is a nightmare. Why is Joe Flacco starting?" Blah 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 blah. And I understood it honestly when that news broke. I thought that Joe Flacco is a perfect opportunity for him to go out there because the number one goal for this Jets team right now, especially with Zach Wilson sideline, is to develop the offense around the quarterback, develop the playmakers, develop the offensive coordinator, develop the O-line, develop the running backs. And I felt like Joe Flacco was the perfect guy to plug in there because he is an experienced guy that deals with pressure properly. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday from Joe Flacco. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. That touchdown to Elijah Moore, like, Joe Flacco doesn't get enough credit for that. There was a free blitzer in his face. He fires it off his back foot, puts it right where it needs to be, and Elijah Moore's gone for 62 yards. So Joe Flacco did a great job, and I feel like Robert Saleh and the coaching staff made the right move by starting him because the one reason why I was confident in Joe Flacco was because I had confidence in him targeting Elijah Moore a lot because what we saw last year, if you guys remember, when Sam Darnold got injured, all of a sudden Joe Flacco comes in and Denzel Mims becomes a real wide receiver. So when I thought this year, I'm like, okay, maybe if Joe Flacco goes in, he's going to target Elijah Moore and he's going to get him going. And what do you know? He has his first 100-yard day, and he looked like an absolute stud. So speaking of Elijah Moore, guys, let's talk about him because he, in the last 4 games, his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. I think he has 4 touchdowns, 325 yards. I don't know if that's exact, but it's around those numbers. Elijah Moore is establishing himself as the number one option. And I know a lot of people were like, Elijah Moore is not an outside receiver. He's a slot receiver. Well, that's incorrect because he's getting all of his production from the outside receiver. He's proving to be a guy that's not just an outside, not just a slot. He's versatile. You can compare him to guys like Antonio Brown, Santonio Holmes, Brandon Cooks, Santana Moss. Like those guys, 5'10", you can line him up the outside, and his route running is so crisp and elite where he can get easy separation. So, Jack, what's your impressions on Elijah Moore? Because I know that in the beginning of the year, you're waiting for him to finally, step up. So now he stepped up. So what's your thoughts of the rookie so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's just wonderful to see, man. He's clearly got all the traits that we've known he's had since the moment we drafted him when we all started looking at Elijah Moore tape. But it's just a beautiful thing now to just witness it on the field during a game. He's finally getting the opportunities his way. The only unfortunate thing that's looming over this whole situation is that none of it's really been with Zach Wilson throwing the ball. So that's definitely something that's been kind of in the back of my mind this whole time. Is Elijah Moore going to retain his productivity of the last 3 or 4 games when Zach Wilson comes back? I think hopefully they will. I think Zach Wilson has learned a lot during his time, or at least I hope Zach Wilson has learned a lot during his time, dealing with his injury. But I think that's, going to be the crucial factor with Elijah Moore, his productivity down the stretch of the remaining games this year. But I think skill wise, he's just shown us everything that we expected from him. And it's just great to finally see it in person. I mean, the crispness of his routes, the separation that he gets, and just the fact that he has incredible hands at the end of the day. That little sideline grab he made yesterday as he was like falling down or as he was already on the ground. It was just, he's got the skill sets to be a superstar in this league for sure, man. So I think that hopefully if we just get this connection with him and Zach Wilson really established in the late stretch of the season, then I really think the sky's the limit for Elijah Moore, man. I mean, we've known this all along, but now we're finally seeing it on the field. So it's really fun to watch.
It's so fun to watch, and I'm happy he's turning it around because I drafted him in 2 fantasy leagues, and now he is a must-start every week, and he's dropping 30 bombs, baby. Let's see it again this week, Elijah Moore, because you're an absolute stud, and you were the highest-graded receiver in the NFL this week. You were the best rookie receiver in the past 4 weeks. Sorry, Jamar Chase. And Elijah Moore, it was a little slow start, But it wasn't him that was a slow start. That's what I keep reminding people. Everyone's like, oh, Elijah Moore sucked in the beginning. No, he didn't suck. The offense sucked. And Jack makes a really great point that all this productivity has come not from Zach Wilson. It's come from 3 different quarterbacks. It's come from Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson, and Mike White. So now what's going to happen when Zach Wilson goes out there? Because Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore were not on the same page early on in the season. So hopefully the productivity can continue. So Ali, what's your impressions on the rookie receiver Elijah Moore? And he's just developing into a star before our eyes. So what's your thoughts of him, man?
Yeah, the narrative of him was that he will be the slot receiver for the team, but he's kind of showing that he's more of an outside guy. No matter what his height is, he wants to be a wide receiver one, and he has a potential and will be a wide receiver one. He just has that speed. He has catching ability, the yards after catch. I believe he's the second wide receiver to have the most touchdowns out of the rookie wide receiver class so far. And you just think about it and you're just like, what if this offense was clicking the entire year? Yeah, what kind of numbers would Elijah Moore have? And it would be probably insane if this offense just was clicking a little bit from the start of the season. But now that you're seeing why the Jets drafted and why we were so excited when he fell to us is because of this talent that he has. It's just he's a playmaker. He's been pretty much like he was high graded in the draft. He was supposed to be a first round talent. And there's a reason why he was a first round talent. It's just because he has such, I don't know, he just has the playmaking ability that every quarterback loves. And I'm just excited to see how he can play with Zach Wilson now. I mean, he's done it with Mike White. He did it with Joe Flacco. Can Zach Wilson get it to go? Because I feel like there was a lot of plays that Joe Flacco missed. And there's some plays that Zach Wilson could make that could be huge. There's Elijah Moore wide open a couple times that those throws Joe Flacco can't make. Zach Wilson can make those throws. So hopefully when he comes back in the groove of things, he can figure that out a little bit and, succeed the way Mike White, Joe Flacco had done on this offense and made Elijah Moore succeed throughout the last couple of games because he's just been crazy going with stats back to back. The Jets are losing badly, but Elijah Moore is doing his thing. And that's kind of what you wanted from the season is the young guys kind of, sparking this team a little bit. Obviously, Michael Carter, we just talked about him. Those 2 guys have just been the spotlight of this football team. That's a good draft class from Joe Douglas. Good pick by Joe Douglas with Elijah Moore. They got a good one in Elijah.
Yeah, Elijah Moore is continuing to impress. That the Jets posted on Instagram. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they posted a beautiful slow motion shot of Elijah Moore's route on Byron Jones for the touchdown. Oh my God, I can watch that over and over and over again. It's so beautiful. He just goes up and too nice. Byron Jones break the ankles, gone for 62 yards. I've been waiting so long for that. It's really exciting that the Jets actually have young playmakers. And I feel like, obviously Michael Carter going down sucks, but I think what will give Jets fans a lot of optimistic feelings going into the offseason, regardless of the wins or losses of the record. Like, say we finish with 4 wins in total, but Zach Wilson comes back. He finishes on a high note. He plays his best ball of the year. Michael Carter gets healthy. He continues his fine play when he gets back. Elijah Moore stays healthy for the rest of the year. It continues this fine play. AVT continues to get better and better. If those 4 guys at the end of the year are healthy together and are playing good football, that's 4 big-time cornerstone pieces for this Jets team moving forward, and they all came from the same draft class. And the crazy thing is, the one missing piece to the puzzle is Zach Wilson. He's the most important one out of all 4 of them. It's the damn quarterback spot. So obviously that's the one guy we're waiting to see what he can do because nobody can say he's our franchise quarterback yet based on what we've seen on tape and based on what we've seen this year from him. So I feel like that the Jets have a really legit young core established, and a lot of people outside of Jets fans see it. Even Dolphins fans come into my stream and tell me yo, Richie, I was very impressed. You have a really legit young squad. Our best players on this team, guys, outside of CJ Mosley and Quinnen Williams, they're all rookies or year 2 players. All the rookies in the year 2, Bryce Hall, Like all these guys we actually have a young core, and it's really refreshing because usually when the Jets are terrible and we're at this point of the year, it's November, it's Thanksgiving, and we're out of it. Playoffs are not even in the conversation. We're looking at the draft already. Usually, it's just a terrible feeling and there's no sense of hope for the future. There's no core, there's no, anything. But right now, it feels a little different, man, for me personally, at least, because we actually can look at this team and we have young pieces around like Michael Carter II. He's going to be the starting slot cornerback forever, I think, in this Robert Saleh system. I genuinely believe that. Even Brandon Eccles has stepped up, even though he's injured. Bryce Hall. Like, there's a lot of crucial young core pieces on this team that should give Jets fans a lot of excitement for the future. And I genuinely believe that, even though we're 2-8, I know that this year it's a lost year. And going into the year, I personally did not really care about the wins or losses. I wanted to establish an identity and establish a culture. And the offensive side of the ball has a lot of, key guys. So, Jack, what's your thoughts about the young core? Obviously, we're waiting to see what Zach Wilson could do, because if he clicks and if he is the franchise quarterback, then this is going to be probably the best draft class as the Jets ever, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Because when's the last time the Jets hit a home run in the draft by getting a stud offensive lineman, a number one receiver, a number one running back, and potentially, and I'll say it, potentially a franchise quarterback? Because obviously we do not know what Zach Wilson is yet.
Yeah, and that's the biggest what if. But at this point, Michael Carter, Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter II, even Brandon Eccles, arguably. I mean, definitely Brandon Eccles, in my opinion. I mean, before he went down, he was playing some really great football. I mean, I'll never forget how he basically shut down Jamar Chase right in front of our eyes at MetLife. So that was just beautiful. So yeah, all the guys I just listed are, playing at a high level, and the fact that they're all rookies, and the fact that, their entire coaching staff around them is, all guys first time in their positions. It's just an amazing thing. I mean, I'm glad you brought it up with that much enthusiasm, Rich, because it really is an awesome thing that never happens to us Jets fans, is, hitting on draft picks in general, I guess you could say, right? We really have a horrible draft history if you really go back and look at it. Especially, I mean, even as of recently with, Jamal Adams, Sam Darnold. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But, the fact that we have a competent general manager now, and, you can look at one draft class from a single year and pick out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hinging on 6 with Zach Wilson, players in that draft class that are, contributors and, high-end contributors as well. I mean, Elijah Vera Tucker has been playing fantastic football. Michael Carter has been playing fantastic football. I think, and Elijah Moore is, coming up as well for sure. I think right now it's Michael Carter, Elijah Vera Tucker, kind of top tier. Elijah Moore is right there underneath them. And then I think, all these other guys are just playing really great football. But these guys on the defense, just because it's much more of a rotation on the defense than it is on the offense, these guys on the defense aren't necessarily given as much opportunities as Elijah Vera Tucker is, who's taking every snap this year, basically. So this, things like that you got to factor in. But all these guys are just playing fantastic football, man. AVT is my boy. He's a future Pro Bowler for sure. I'm excited to get Becton back next to him. But the biggest what if is obviously Zach Wilson, because we gotta have this, this Zach Wilson kind of conversation now. I mean, I know he's a rookie, but at this point, 3 other quarterbacks with the same roster, same coaches, same scheme, same everything have outplayed Zach Wilson this year. Joe Flacco didn't necessarily outplay Zach Wilson yesterday, but he had right up there with the game that Zach had against Tennessee. I mean, Zach had 290 something yards, two touchdowns and a pick. Joe Flacco had 290 something yards, 2 touchdowns and no picks. So you could even argue that Joe Flacco had a better game than Zach has had for the Jets yesterday. So I just feel like, Zach Wilson has the most to prove by far. We've known that for a long time now, but I feel like, it is kind of crunch time for him when he comes back, not in terms of losing his job or anything like that, but he can't finish the season how he started the season. We have to at least see some improvement from Zach before the season ends in order for me to, go into next year with any sort of confidence at all. We need to see some improvement from Zach through the late stretch of the year, and I really think we will. I don't think Zach has been in the game with Booth LaFleur yet, so I think that Booth LaFleur is about to be lit for Zach, and I think that it could be very different as we approach the last, what do we have, like 7 games left? But yeah, it's going to be very interesting, man. But these young guys are all cornerstones for the future, and it's just fantastic that they all come from a single draft class.
Yeah, it really is. And I love that we finally have an offensive core, because I feel like we've always had defensive cores, whether it's Marcus May, Jamal Adams together, or it's, Quinnen Williams and Leonard Williams when they were on the field together. Like, we always had good cores, but on the defensive side of the ball, it's refreshing to have on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm happy you brought up Booth LaFleur, because I want to bring up Mike LaFleur as the next topic after we hear from Ali about this rookie draft class. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about everything to do with this Jets rookie draft class? Obviously, you heard from Jack, you heard from me. Zach Wilson is the X factor of the entire draft class. He's the most important player, and he's the one guy that has been disappointing so far. But guys like ABT, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter II, Brandon Eccles, they're playing real, legit football. And I think that is a big, big deal that some Jets fans have to realize. Like, I know we're 2-8, and I know that it's a rough season, but that's a really big deal for the future.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, for the defensive side of the ball, like Eccles, these guys are just playing their hearts out with the expectations being so low for them because they thought how bad they are, and the way they're performing against these top receivers, these top teams, is impressive. It is very impressive, especially like it's a new coaching staff. It's the offense is not clicking, but these guys are coming out and making plays. Obviously, they're gonna have mistakes, and we've seen those mistakes. But they're young, they're rookies, and the same thing goes with Zach Wilson. Obviously, I don't think it's the time to do the panic button right now. It's stupid to think about the panic button with Zach Wilson. He is still a rookie quarterback coming into a team where they only had 2 wins last year, and it's also a rookie coaching staff. So I mean, I wish he could perform better. Maybe this rest will help him and benefit him because it has worked in the future, in the past, with other quarterbacks, where they sit down, learn a little bit, because he got to see Mike White do his thing. And then you saw Joe Flacco, a veteran quarterback, come in and kind of teach him a little bit. And also his quarterback coach, John Beck, is on the sidelines with him now. So he's learning completely. He literally, for the last 3-4 weeks, he's pretty much been in learning mode. So maybe hopefully that helps him out on the football field now, because what we saw is he could make the big plays. He can do all the great things, but he couldn't do the small little dump offs. And that's what Mike White did. That's what Joe Flacco did. And maybe he's learning that a little bit, seeing that I can do that too, because he kind of really didn't have to do that at BYU. He kind of just tossed it up in BYU and his receiver would catch it. It's the NFL is completely different, so he has to adjust a little bit, which is going to take time. But if the rest of the season he can produce those numbers and you can see that progress of his, then you got a bright future with him. You have Elijah Moore, we already talked about him. Elijah Vera Tucker, who's playing out of his mind. Michael Carter, who's going to hopefully come back in a couple weeks. These guys are playing out of their minds, and I think this rookie class could be very special if some of these guys can get their crap together, stay healthy, and play at their level. But for Zach Wilson purposes, I'm not doing the panic button, because he is still a rookie. He's a damn rookie. He's learning stuff. He's coming completely from a different system, trying to go into a shit show of an organization. So we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully he learns from his mistakes, learns a little bit what to do, how to progress in this offense, because this offense is finally clicking a little bit. His offense is working as soon as he left. But I feel like they changed a little bit of their play calling and stuff like that as soon as he left. So hopefully they keep this game plan with Zach Wilson and see how he does, because I think he could succeed and he has all the potential in the world. We just got to see him improve, and hopefully he learn from sitting on the sidelines for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the only thing we could hope for right now is Zach Wilson comes back and plays well, because like I said, that's probably the most important player on this entire team. Another optimistic thing I want to bring up is definitely Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur, man, he was getting so much crap from us in the beginning of the year, rightfully so, because the offense stunk. And all of a sudden, Mike LaFleur has technically four quarterbacks. Like he's called plays for four quarterbacks to have 250 plus yards and multiple touchdowns. Like that's a really big deal for Mike LaFleur. That proves that the system works, number one, and that proves that he's an adaptable, play caller where he can, call plays based on who's playing the quarterback position. And it's just a really good sign because, and I know we all know this, like we're talking about the rookie draft class, and I know you guys brought it up, but we also have a rookie play caller that we're developing. Just because these are coaches doesn't mean they're not developing of their own. We're developing rookies. We're developing young players. We're also developing coaches. And Mike LaFleur is his first time as an offensive coordinator of his life. And I think he's developing over time. And for the fact that Mike LaFleur has proved that he can call plays for four separate quarterbacks to throw for 250 yards and 2+ touchdowns, that's damn impressive. And the offense yesterday was very impressive for me personally. There's a lot of things that he did with Joe Flacco that exploited the weaknesses of the Miami Dolphins defense. And that is what a good offensive coordinator does. They exploit the weaknesses of the defense and take advantage. And that's exactly what Mike LaFleur did. You saw like one play that stuck out to me the most. Remember that quick slant to our fullback, Baldwin over the middle? If you watch that play develop and what it was, do you guys remember that bubble screen to Elijah Moore in the red zone to the right, and then he ran for 15 yards? Well, that play was basically the same thing. Elijah Moore was in motion. He was going to the bubble screen to the left, and it was a fake to Elijah Moore, and that freed up Bowden in the slot over the middle. Like, that's just a perfect, thing of Mike LaFleur getting comfortable with his rhythm, getting aggressive with his play calling, understanding when to run, when not to. So I'm just been very impressed with Mike LaFleur. The fact that he had a really tough start to the year, and he's somebody that is developing over time, and he's proved to be a guy that can coach in this league. So Jack, what's your thoughts about Mike LaFleur? Because we know that he stunk it up in the beginning of the year. We know that he's been really good with these other veteran quarterbacks. So, and obviously we have to see if it all clicks with Zach Wilson. But what's your thoughts about Mike LaFleur so far this year as a rookie?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's a couple of different variables. Obviously, booth LaFleur is superior to sideline LaFleur. That's like a real thing. It's definitely a meme and it's a funny thing, but the results are tangible and you can see them every week. Booth LaFleur is superior to sideline LaFleur. So
we'll never see him on the sideline.
Mike LaFleur belongs in the booth 100% of the time. But also, another variable that you absolutely have to take into account at this point is that, maybe it was, a lack of execution from Zach Wilson's standpoint, because we've seen this offense kind of, I don't want to say thrive, but do significantly better than they were doing with Zach Wilson under center. And it's, it's not like the scheme has changed or anything like that since, Zach Wilson got hurt. So I feel like, maybe we just weren't seeing the full potential of LaFleur because Zach Wilson wasn't executing. But also, he's certainly to blame for, the stretch of poor games that this offense had to start the year. I think he was kind of, shaking off some of the jitters and just getting used to being an offensive coordinator in the NFL, So I think it's just taken some time. And as I just listed, there's a couple different factors that go into it. And I think a combination of all those three factors is kind of what's led him down this path where he is right now, where now he's in a much better situation. And I think that he, has all the confidence in Zach Wilson to come back and execute this offense, as we've seen Joe Flacco do it, Josh Johnson do it, Mike White do it. Excuse me. But yeah, I think that when Zach Wilson gets back, it's obviously going to hinge on his execution once again. Because, Mike LaFleur has definitely proved himself over the past month that he can be a real deal, very good offensive coordinator.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think Mike LaFleur has developed over time. I also think Zach Wilson is a lot to blame in the beginning of the year, but I also think the offense as a whole, it takes all 11 guys. The quarterback is the most important position to get the offense clicking, but I feel like not everybody was on the same page. I feel like the O-line was struggling. Even the wide receivers were not in the right spots at some times. The running backs, it was a collective effort as well of just a lack of execution, and that starts with Zach Wilson and it hinders down below him. So hopefully we can see the the offense click in all cylinders when Zach Wilson's out there. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about the offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, so far in his rookie season?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially in the beginning of the season, I wasn't really critical of him as much as other people were. I think his plays were there. They just weren't executed correctly by the offense. I think there's a lot of play calls that were like very interesting, that like creative type stuff, but it just wasn't working for the offense at all. I think it's where we played the Patriots is when he started thinking a little bit more, because he started using those uh, trickery type plays after the Patriots game, because he saw the Patriots do it to us. And then since then, I've seen him do trickery like every week. He's done it, and it's always almost successful. So he's bringing the creativity in the offense, and he's trying to figure out how can like he make this not predictable offense, because the last 2 years the offense was very predictable. Franco up the middle, or like the same route to Robbie Anderson, or something like that. That was the same thing over and over for the New York Jets. So I think he's trying to bring something creativity into it, get everyone involved, and I think he has gotten everyone involved. Offense just has coming together. It starts with the offensive line. The offensive line has played pretty damn well. We thought this offensive line was not going to be that great, especially with Mekhi Becton also being out for multiple weeks now. That offensive line has clicked. They have the chemistry there now, and they're playing at a high level. And then the run game also. That's how the run game gets started. That's how the passing game goes. The play action works. So everything it starts with the offensive line. If that can start working, everything starts working by itself. The first couple of weeks of the season, it just wasn't clicking at all. Now we're seeing a little bit of more of a successful offense that's moving the chains. We usually would be like, it's a third down. Oh, we're going to just be punting. It's going to be a 3-and-out right away for the Jets. And now for the first time, we're actually seeing move the chains a little bit, showing a little bit of life, even when they end at the end of the game. Yeah, I feel like LaFleur is developing into a good offense coordinator. It's way too early. But he's progressing in a way where he's learning from his mistakes, especially also with Robert Saleh. He's learning from all his mistakes that he has done. These stupid timeouts and stuff like that, not getting the play call off. Like they look kind of lost. They were looking kind of lost, especially when the CBS camera would show them. They just looked like chaotic on the sidelines. He's like looked kind of like odd in the beginning of the season, but now he's learning a little bit more of what to do. So I think the coaching staff is learning. The offense, the young guys are also learning on this team. They're all learning together. So I think LaFleur has manned up, and he's calling pretty good games.
Yeah, man. And you brought up the offensive line, and that's the next thing I want to talk about, because this O-line has been playing really good football as of late, and that's a really good sign. We got a brand new player making his Jets debut yesterday. That's LDT replacing GVR. And also, I think the unsung hero this year for the Jets O-line has been George Fant. I think that he's filled in for Mekhi Becton, and he has not given up a sack yet. The difference between George Fant and Mekhi Becton is George Fant is a better pass blocking left tackle. Mekhi Becton's a better run blocking left tackle. And I feel like Fant's been doing a phenomenal job. I know that Elijah Vera-Tucker is the star of the bunch, but Connor McGovern's doing his thing as well lately. Morgan Moses has been a rock. Luckily, he's healthy because he went down with an injury yesterday, but he came back after having an ankle scare. So if LDT, man, if this doctor can come in here and finish the season strong, we might have found our right guard next year. And like, he's 30 years old. He took a season off last year. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a free agent. And I would not be surprised if he does play well, the Jets re-sign him, and he's our starting right guard next year. Because the most important part about the offensive line is continuity. And, he didn't do anything crazy good. He didn't do anything bad. He was a rock-solid right guard yesterday. So I feel like LDT did a good job in his Jets debut. And again, guys, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays this well, that he might be our right guard next year. I think Joe Douglas will probably draft someone and also bring in other free agency depth, or maybe it can just be a depth piece next year. But I was impressed by him, and obviously AVT has been the strong suit. So, Jack, what's your thoughts about this offensive line so far this year? Because they've been trending in the right direction every single game. The run game has been getting better. I think the passing game has been phenomenal for the past couple of weeks. And George Fant, AVT, all these guys are actually playing pretty well together. And not going to lie, McDermott came out there and played pretty well when Morgan Moses was down. So maybe we do have some type of depth.
Yeah, we do. I was impressed with Duvernay Tardif's play yesterday. He's definitely a big upgrade from Van Roten in the run game. This is from Jets X Factor. He actually got a 78.0 from PFF in the run game yesterday, which was the highest of all Jets linemen. However, he was kind of a little bit more of a liability in the passing game than I think we all realized. He tied Greg Van Roten's single game record for pressures given up yesterday. He had 7 pressures yesterday, and no other lineman had more than 2. So he was definitely, I think that's just shaking off a little bit of rust, though. I think I definitely was impressed with his play, just becoming a Jet so recently. Only hours before the game, it was announced that he was going to be the starter. So, definitely not taking away from your point that you made there at all, Rich. I was definitely impressed with his play yesterday. I think he's just shaking off a little bit of rust. And hey, man, the 78.0 PFF grade in the run game, highest of all the Jets linemen yesterday, that's pretty badass, man. So for him to step in there and do that, although he did struggle in the pass protection a little bit, I think overall he played some solid football for us yesterday. Obviously, AVT's been doing his thing all year now. We kind of, know what to expect from him at this point. He's just, such a solid piece at the left guard, just the ultimate foundational piece for the offensive line. Obviously, we're looking to get Becton back, but, I think that George Fant and Morgan Moses have been doing pretty well overall. And, I'd like to see maybe an upgrade at center. I don't think that LDT could potentially be a long-term answer for the Jets. I just don't know. But I think that he's definitely a great, Band-Aid piece, because we needed to get Van Roten off the field, man. It really got bad to the point where he just needed to get off the field. He was just a complete and utter liability. But I would still definitely love to see an upgrade, a permanent upgrade at center and right guard. But that's asking a lot to accomplish in one offseason. So who knows what's going to happen with the whole LDT situation. But I think that he played a pretty solid game yesterday. So overall, the offensive line has definitely been probably the most improved unit we've seen, right? I mean, we kind of weren't really expecting. I mean, the corners have been playing really good all year, so it's really tough to call them improved. We just really weren't expecting much of them, and then all of a sudden they just blew us away. But I think the offensive line has been, probably the biggest improvement that we've seen from this team. And that's great to see, man, because it usually takes these offensive lines, time to gel and, time to get their, cohesiveness with one another, which is extremely important playing on the offensive line. Is getting on the same page with those 4 guys, around you, those 4 other guys around you. So it's just great to see these guys improve week after week, it seems like. And it's great to see Van Roten finally off the field. That's nothing against him personally. But, the numbers don't lie when you look at Greg Van Roten, man. He's statistically the worst starting right guard in the NFL. So, I mean, the numbers don't lie, man. So, welcome to the team, LDT, and I hope to see some more improvement from him in the pass protection game. But other than that, man, I'm happy with how this offensive line has played. I really am.
I think Joe Douglas deserves a lot of credit with this offensive line because he came here and he completely revamped it immediately, getting 5 new starters. He's been doing a lot to try to get the right pieces in there, get depth. He notices that Greg Van Roten has been trash. It's not just been Jets fans. So he goes out there. He trades Daniel Brown, who just got cut by the Chiefs, for LDT. LDT opted out last year, so he did not play 1 game of football. So there's going to be a lot of rust. And I think that was a good thing for him because he got some years on his legs. So I feel like LDT has a lot of gas left in the tank, what I'm trying to say. So I think Joe Douglas did a phenomenal job revamping this offensive line. I think it's still a work in progress. It's not at its full potential. I do expect him to draft another top-tier lineman next year or go out there and open up the bank to get another free agent big-time offensive lineman. So, Ali, what's your thoughts about the O-line? I know that you touched on it already, so you don't really have to go too in-depth about it, but what's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, They just exceeded expectations. It's simple as that. That's the reason this offense is moving and the offense is clicking a little bit because the offensive line is connecting. We got when did we get what do you call it? LDT. I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the way he has communicated with this offensive line the entire game was impressive. This guy hasn't played football in a very long time. He's one of the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, and to see him succeed that way, he admitted that he missed a couple of mistakes, but he's just putting the rust off of him a little bit. But he played a good game. The offense had almost 400 yards total yards. They were moving the ball, and the offensive line was clicking. They knew the chemistry is there now for the offensive line. Obviously, we can improve on the offensive line, but the chemistry right now, what we have is there. And that's the most you can ask for this team because right now we weren't expecting anything from this team, this offensive line. We thought this offensive line was still going to be pretty bad. We were only honestly excited for ABT and Mekhi Becton on the left. That's all we were hoping for. But Fant has stepped up. Morgan Moses, when he's out there, stepped up. All these guys have stepped up in their roles. And that's why the run game has Michael Carter has succeeded. The run, Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, all these guys are running heavily. It gives the quarterback more time to work. And that's kind of what I'm also anticipating with Zach Wilson, is that Zach Wilson, honestly, he didn't have too many great pockets. But the last couple of weeks where he wasn't playing, the pockets have been pretty clean. So I think maybe if he gets a cleaner pocket, maybe he performs a little bit better. So I think all this has panned out to be, getting the perfect scenario for Zach Wilson when he comes in, because the O-line is doing well. The receivers are catching the balls now. The run game is there. So the offensive line is doing their job. I think they've done a great job. I think they're still going to improve. I think they're still going to go out and get like 2-3 more linemen, either in the draft or free agency. But as of right now, I think they're doing pretty well just because they exceeded expectations.
Yeah, and now flipping to the defensive side of the ball, there was a lot of players that stood out to me. And the top 5 graded best players on the Jets yesterday were Quinnen Williams, Bryce Hall, and Elijah Moore and Elijah Vera Tucker. But another player on the defensive side of the ball that was very impressive to me is Quincy Williams. He finished with 15 total tackles, a bunch of tackles for losses. This guy was everywhere. He was like the best defensive player on the field. He just kept looking like he was just like, whoa, okay, he's pretty much everywhere. And Quinnen Williams quietly had his best performance of the season. He had like 7 pressures or something like that. And John Franklin Myers, I know that he had the worst penalty and he completely altered the game, but he had one of his best performances of the day as well. Outside of that one penalty, he was getting to the quarterback with ease. I think he also racked up 7 pressures. And Bryce Hall had his performance of the entire season. He had I think he was the highest graded Jet, around 90 or something like that. So Bryce Hall continues to thrive. So, Jack, what's your thoughts about this young defense? Obviously, we were unable to get the victory, and the penalties really bit us in the butt. But with all of the injuries, with all these known names subbing into the safety spot, we got Quincy Williams thriving in the system. He was our waiver wire claim, who's been looking really good. Quinnen Williams having his best performance. Even Bryce Hall is continuing to be a stud. So what's your thoughts about those 3 players that played pretty well yesterday in Quinnen Williams, Bryce Hall, and Quincy Williams?
It's just great to see this defense. I mean, albeit, it was a loss yesterday. I mean, at least we didn't give up freaking 40 points yesterday, right? I mean, at least we kind of got back to what we do and we kept the Dolphins in check and we, didn't let Tua, look like an MVP candidate like I was so nervous we were going to. And, those 3 players that you mentioned specifically definitely, balled out for us yesterday. The one thing I will say, pressures are great, man, but for a Miami team that had given up 27 sacks going into this game and for us to not come out with a single sack yesterday, it pissed me off a little bit, man. I mean, we got to get those sack numbers back up, man. We got to, because, that's how the defense can get off the field. Pressures are fantastic, but when the quarterback can throw the ball and either hit a check down or just, throw it away, you're right back where you started, man. So we got to get these sack numbers up there so we can get, down in distances in our favor from a defensive standpoint. So we can get some second and longs, some third and longs, so we don't have to, so it's not so difficult for us. So we're not, busting our asses to cover every single outlet for the quarterback to throw the ball to, which yesterday was a lot of, tight end screens and, just little dump offs over the middle, which has been, what we've seen, beat us before many times this year. So I just think that this defensive line, as we've said since the beginning of the year started, this whole defensive system hinges on this defensive line being able to, get to the quarterback and disrupt the quarterback. And it just hasn't been happening at a high enough level as we needed to. And we got to get these sack numbers back up, man. I mean, for us to not get a single sack yesterday, I think Quinnen actually did get a sack, and then there was a penalty on that play. So, it doesn't count, obviously, but, still, it's just a little disappointing that, that we can't, bring these quarterbacks down in the backfield. But, next year we'll get Carl Lawson back. I'm hoping for this defensive end that everybody's loving, at number 2. That would be kind of sick. If we had 2 hitters on the in Carl Lawson and what's this dude's name from
Thibodeau?
Oregon? He's from Oregon, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how to say his last name, so I just call him Tibbs.
His name's like Kayvon or something like that.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeaux. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
To be honest. I haven't done. But yeah, that's another thing that I was gonna finish off the stream about, but I'll save that later on. But yeah, man, the D line, the defense, Quincy Williams. It's been a tough sled, but yesterday I feel like they bounced back. But
they did.
Jack brings up a great point. I would like to see some sack numbers, especially going up against a team that has been giving up a shit ton of sacks. So Ali, what's your thoughts about the defense yesterday? Specifically Quincy Williams looking like a real, I would be okay with him being our starting linebacker next year, based on what I've seen from him so far this year.
I mean, yeah, he has definitely improved, but I feel like we could probably look at other options. I think he's a guy that you could improve at that that linebacker position. Obviously, Quincy Williams, he's a beast, but I definitely want him on my team. But I think they will probably look at different options at that linebacker position, especially in the draft. I heard there's crazy linebackers in this draft. And then maybe in free agency. So as an overall defense, though, I really like how the defensive line is playing. They're just not finishing. They're not. They're getting there. They're doing whatever they can, but they're just not getting there to harass the quarterback more. Get him down, get him sacked down. And just the stupid penalties that they always get, that they can get off the field. It is frustrating at times, but the defensive line has stepped up from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, where the defensive line just has been non-existing. Quarterbacks have so much time back there, and that's why they're throwing bullets all over the field against us. So the defensive line, I really do. I think they're going to improve, especially with all the injuries they've had. You're missing Bryce Huff, you're missing Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry. All these guys are not on the field with them. So the defense could be much better than what it is right now, especially with all the injuries that happened. But I liked how they stepped up yesterday, and then hopefully they continue that with the Texans this week.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that it's another thing real quick I want to touch up on about the defense, and specifically John Franklin Myers, is we're banged up on the injury front on the edge position, and John Franklin Myers is playing a little out of position. He's a versatile guy. He could play at DT. He could play edge, but he's way more comfortable at that defensive tackle position. And since we are detrimented with injuries, Bryce Huff is down now. We all know Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry. So John Franklin Myers is playing the edge spot where he's not the most comfortable. So I feel like that extension we gave him, and somebody on Twitter brought this up, and it was such a great point. That extension we gave JFM was more long-term. They're thinking okay, next year we get Carl Lawson back. Maybe we can get Kayvon Thibodeau, and John Franklin Myers will slide back inside. We'll have Quinnen and JFM next to each other.
That's a dirty Rankins. 4 right there.
That's what I'm talking about. JFM, he's playing out of position right now. He's still getting the pressures, and that penalty is and Saleh called him out for it, which I love Saleh to do because that's what he needs to do is hold his players accountable. But yeah, that's my thoughts about the D-line. So to finish off the stream, guys, I'm usually not someone to talk about the draft this early, but it is getting towards draft talk because now we're entering, at the end of the year. We're getting a really good idea of where we're going to be in the draft. And listen, guys, we got 2 top 5 picks. That's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. So we're right now at number 2 and number 5. If the Giants win today, we'll stay at 5. If the Giants lose, then the Seahawks go to 6. But we'll see what happens with that. What I would want to see from the draft with just those 2 picks in general, me personally, it's really interesting. There's a lot of debate right now, and there's so many things that's going to happen over time leading up to the draft. There's so much time to, everything will play itself out. But if I'm the Jets, I think you take the best player available, defense, with our own pick, whether that's the second pick, third pick, whatever we end up with. And then that Seahawks pick, I think it's a perfect chance for Joe Douglas, and I really think he's going to do this. Trade that pick back, get the capital you gave up to trade up to get AVT, and all of a sudden we got even more capital because, guys, I know, and that's not, guaranteed. There's a lot of factors that will weigh in. It depends who's available with that Seahawks pick. Do we want to pass up on him to trade back? But I think that Joe Douglas is going to understand that last year I used that Seahawks pick to trade up to get AVT. So now I kind of want some of those draft picks back that I gave up. So I'm going to move back a couple spots, pick up an extra second, maybe pick up another first rounder for the future. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And there's also big time, question marks. What position do they go? Do they get Stingley? Do they get even Hamilton? Because there's this kid, and I know, Jack, you haven't really researched the draft class yet so far, but there's this kid that Jets fans are falling in love with. Well, some Jets fans. Hamilton, he's a safety, and apparently he is like the best safety to come out of the draft in a long time. He's versatile. He can play everywhere. And some people are like, yo, what if the Jets can get Thibodeau and Hamilton and just get 2 like stud players on 2 different positions on the defense, that one on the D-line and one versatile piece that can line up everywhere. Like this kid Hamilton from, I think Notre Dame, I believe. He's someone that's really expected to become a star in this league. And I know that Jets fans might have a little, sense of safety that early. We saw what happened with Jamal. But Jamal was a stud for the Jets. Like he was a good player, which is why we traded him for 2 first-round picks. But that's what Jets fans are saying. And then there's the other side. I want Tyler Lindenbaum from Iowa, the center. He's a stud. I would love to draft him. The tackle from Alabama. So, Jack, just position-wise, you don't have to talk about players individually, but what's your thoughts about having two top 5 picks? That's probably not going to end up at the end of the year. I don't expect the Seahawks to continue to lose that much. It'll be dope if we can get 2 top 10 picks. But what position groups would you want the Jets to tackle in this year's draft, just in the first round with the 2 picks?
First round, I mean, with the way our defense has, kind of struggled badly throughout the last month or so, I really wouldn't mind taking 2 defensive players with those picks, man. I mean, if they're the caliber of players that we, think they are, in, let's just say Hamilton and Thibodeau, I mean, that would be insane, man. So, I mean, just anywhere, any outlet that we could grab, game-changing playmakers from, not just, guys that you can we need a safety. All right, let's draft a safety that we can plug in. No, if this guy's really, a game-changing player who's supposed to be the best, player coming out at his position in a while, then I would obviously be all in on drafting a player like that. I mean, obviously we have other needs on this team. We're still going to be going O-line early in this draft, whether that's first round or second round. But I mean, I really wouldn't mind going defense first round, especially after the draft that we had this year, where we went offense. I would not mind coming out this year and drafting 2 hitters on the defense at all. But really, whatever Joe Douglas is going to do, man. I mean, I think that after this past draft class that he drafted, my faith in him to draft is at an all-time high, basically. We spent the whole, first 15 minutes of this stream talking about how amazing all the rookies this year have been. So, whatever Joe Douglas wants to do is for sure going to be the right move. One thing I will say is that I doubt we will be drafting twice in the first round. Maybe twice in the first round, but I doubt we're going to have those 2 early picks. Probably we're going to keep our own early pick, but that second Seattle pick, I would not be surprised at all if we traded it back and just got more capital for it, regardless of where it ends up being, because I still think it'll probably end up being a top 10 pick, maybe top 12, somewhere around there, depending on how Seattle finishes the year, obviously. But I think that once again the options for Joe Douglas are kind of limitless here in terms of how he wants to attack these 2 first-round picks. And I think however he wants to do it is going to be the right way, because I definitely trust him after last year's draft class. But 2 defense would be sick. That would be dope.
And it does kind
I
of
would not be mad.
Yeah, me neither. Defense. The defense has been trash this year, to say the least. And why not hand Robert Saleh 2 first-round studs to develop over time? I mean, the rookies that Robert Saleh is developing right now, they're late-round picks that are like trying to mold them into real players. Michael Carter II, Brennan Eccles, Najeldine, Sherwood when he was healthy. Those are guys that they're trying to, they're not that highly, coming out of the draft. They're late-round picks. But imagine you get people with that much upside in a guy like Thibodeau and a guy like Hamilton. Like, that would be pretty legit. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of things that's going to be, happening leading up to the draft. The one thing that's unfortunate is that this year's draft class does not have a lot of quarterbacks. And the reason why I say that is because if the Jets wanted to get a big time haul, like say we were picking in the top and say somebody was off the board that we didn't really want, and a quarterback needy team called us up, and because quarterbacks bring you the best trades. And it's unfortunate there's no quarterbacks, because if the Jets wanted to get a ridiculous haul, they easily could with the top pick. But that's just hypothetical. We'll see what happens. But Ali, based on what's your thoughts about this draft class coming up? I don't know the extent of the research you've done, but we got 2 top 5 picks currently, man.
Yeah, man, I've started doing it not too long ago. I still don't know anything about this draft class. It's a process, but yeah, I think you can. The thing that I'm thinking about this draft is in free agency, I think we should focus on the offensive side of the ball, getting playmakers on the offense, and then the draft, go early with defensive players, because the defensive players are very good in this draft. I think they can grab a couple of nice, an edge rusher, maybe a linebacker, maybe a safety as well. There's a lot of talent because we could have 4 picks in the top 50 or whatever it is, or top 60. So, the Jets could have a big overhaul on that defense and bring some young guys that are talented. Like, they're insanely talented, and come in and be completely change the defense from what it is right now. So, yeah, I mean, I would love for them to go defense, especially in the draft. I'm not really looking into it in a free agency as much as other people are. And that might change. They're probably going to sign a couple of players in free agency, but there's a lot of offensive players that they could add during free agency, and I think they should focus on that, because they did draft 4 offensive players first last year. So I think they've got to focus on defense with their high picks this year. And you can get some really top-notch players and improve your defense, and especially with Robert Saleh being a defensive coach and stuff like that, I think that that might be a real possibility, because the Jets need a change in that defense. They need playmakers. They need stars on that defense. And if you use your first-round picks on defensive stars, that will help your defense completely, especially with the guys that are going to be coming back next year, back from injury. So I think the defense could completely change from what we're seeing now and be absolutely crazy next year, honestly, because it's loaded in this draft. So I would love the approach of maybe going a linebacker or an edge and then a safety later on, because I think there's that one safety you just mentioned, but there's a lot of other safeties that are top-notch players in this draft.
Yeah, I think safety might be like the biggest need for this defense, low key. Like,
especially with Marcus May, we don't know what the hell's going on with
Marcus May tore his Achilles, and that's the worst injury you can get. We don't know if he'll ever be the same. And outside of him, Ashton Davis, he got his first interception yesterday, but he's been suspect. He hasn't really proved to be anybody that we can say with confidence that he could be a starter. I'm comfortable with Ashton being, a backup utility safety, but safety is going to be an interesting position of how the Jets are going to tackle this, because right now we're playing with no names out there. We're signing people off the street, and hopefully they can play. There's a lot of players in this draft class, whether they want to pick a safety early or, they can go Stingley. They can go. There's so many different avenues, but the thought of having Thibodeau with Lawson back healthy, with JFM and Rankins and Quinnen Williams makes me excited. But I don't want to get my hopes up too much because we don't know what will happen. Hey, we can win 5 straight games and then we'll be out of the top 10. And I'm rooting for that to happen, by the way. I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for the Jets to win.
Hey, I mean, last year around this time, we're in the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon, so anything happens, man. anything can happen.
And any player can just skyrocket off draft boards out of nowhere. So we'll find out. I'm excited for more draft talk. I'm definitely going to be diving into this draft class on this channel earlier. In the next couple of weeks, because that's definitely a big talking point. This is where, I don't really watch college football a lot. I don't really dive deep into the draft class until like the second half of the year, because that's when you get a really good idea of what's going on in each position group. I'm excited for the draft. Best time of the year just for the NFL wise. I love that stuff. So guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream on Jets Media. I'm really excited for this Jets future of this team. I know that right now it's like, patience. I don't want to hear that anymore. But, we're 2-8 right now. You guys heard us talk about a lot of things that Jets fans should be excited about, whether it's the offensive core, whether it's the development of the coaching staff. There's a lot of things that the Jets are trying to develop here. We're trying to develop an identity, a backbone for this franchise, and we're hopeful that we got the right guy in charge in Robert Saleh, and that's yet to be seen. It's not official that he's the guy. It's not official that he's going to be the guy that lead us to Super Bowl yet. He hasn't proved it, but I have a lot of confidence in him, and I'm happy that I have this Jets Media YouTube channel to interact with all of you guys in the Jets community. It does mean a lot, and all the support is very much appreciated. Guys, can you please smash that like button before you leave the stream? I'll greatly appreciate that. 46 likes, but 65 people watching. Let's get this to over 50 likes. If you did not smash that thumbs up button already, please make sure you do so. I greatly appreciate it. So, Jack, anything you'd like to say before we wrap things up, man?
On to bigger and better things against the Houston Texans, man. I mean, hopefully at least. Now it's kind of scary. Who did they beat yesterday?
The first seed Titans.
The Titans. Yeah. Wow. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I guess JETS Jets forever. And love you boys, and love all you guys in the chat for hanging out with us. And please smash that like button, as Richie said, before you leave. And until next time.
Let's hope Zach Wilson's back next week. Ali, anything you'd like to say, man?
Yeah, I mean, you said I hope our golden boy Zach Wilson's back this week, because I think we need to see him more than Joe Flacco, because there's no point in this football game last week without seeing Zach Wilson on the football field. So I hope he's back. I hope he's ready to go 100%. And hopefully we can see some football of him moving the ball. We saw Mike White do it, saw Joe Flacco, now Zach Wilson turn. So hopefully we can see that this weekend. And yeah, I mean, see you guys next week, and hopefully we are celebrating Victory Monday next week.
Yeah, hopefully Michael Carter can get healthy soon, because that's so upsetting that he's hurt. But it's okay, because you have Elijah Moore, and he's a stud, and he is going to go for 250 yards this week. You heard it here first on Jets Media. Elijah Moore to the top. Just kidding. Love you guys. Let's go Jets, and we'll catch you guys next time.